you never know when this thing actually goes live. You just don't, okay? You're sitting in front of a camera, Facebook is glitching all over the place, and it's like, hey, I think I'm going to go live now, and you just never know when it's actually going to go live. So I'm just going to assume that I'm live right now. I hate, this goes back to my broadcasting background, I just hate it when a video starts and the person's just staring at their screen or just looking down and around for 20 minutes, waiting for someone to come on. I just can't stand that. So I have to talk, and I have to let you know that we're on the air. I can already see people listening, so I know I'm live. Of course, dropping the first comment all the way from Australia, Mark Pollard, which is awesome. I love that Australia is our first comment. That shows how global this channel has become. Also, Caitlin Elizabeth back from where she was here on time. Well, she just told you where she was, leaving the field now. So tonight's podcast, again, this is a little bit of the intro, as you know, is going to be mostly about NHL captains and the best ones of all time. We're also going to be talking, sorry, I'm trying to hit an icon here at the bottom. We're also going to be talking about the Akim Aliu article that came out today. I think it's very important. We're actually going to start with that tonight. I don't want to ignore that, nor do I think that has to come second to what we're going to be talking about. And before I forget, let me text my dad that I'm live now before I forget, because he'll kill me. And hopefully my daughter will stop screaming downstairs. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. Let me text my wife. This is the best part about live. It's live. You see, I learned long ago, you have to own whatever you're doing when it's live. All right? I'm texting my wife. I'm live right now. I'd appreciate it if you could muzzle our daughter. No, I won't write that. If Alina could be not a 3-year-old for the moment. We'll see if that works, because 3-year-olds always listen. Anyway, before we get started, let me know how you're doing tonight. How's your week been? It's Wednesday night. It's Puckdrop night. Got a lot of good hockey stuff to talk about today. Again, I was going to give it a few minutes. I already got a bunch of people, double digits on here already. I love this audience so much. Oh, and it's dipping hard as I said that. Again, talking about best captains in NHL history tonight. Along with Akim Aliu and the article that came out in the Players Tribune yesterday. I will start momentarily. Please feel free to share this stream, this live cast, with friends, anyone you know that enjoys the game of hockey. As you know, we thrive on the two-way interaction at We Live Hockey. We really enjoy that the camaraderie that we have, and it really drives the show for me. This was never meant to be just me talking. But I can see people on here, so I'm going to get going. As always, I stop for a minute. And then I get going. Here we go. When you look at the legends of this game that have led teams, had the C on their jersey, something that's not unique to hockey anymore, but something that has definitely been made in hockey. The captaincy C is something that most people look at. They think of hockey. Football picked it up a few years ago. Baseball doesn't exactly have that, although they have had captains. And basketball, they don't wear C's on their jersey. This is a hockey thing. It's a symbolism. It's all the way from the youth hockey all the way up. So tonight, we're going to be discussing the best captains in NHL history. But before we get to that, you might have noticed tonight my lower third says aggressive forecheck, because before we start the episode, I want to bring up a little bit more of a serious issue, a serious article that came out today. I think it would be a disservice if I didn't bring it up. It came out in the last 48 hours. It was in the Players Tribune. It was by Akim Aliu, and it was titled "Hockey is Not for Everyone." So if you follow We Live Hockey or Elimination Cafe, we posted this article this morning. We shared it this morning. And here's the deal. I am not the correct spokesperson or the commentary for this man and his life, all right? I can only share the message that he sent. So I can't make too much of a discussion because I don't think I'm the qualified person to talk about. I will tell you this. You should definitely go read this article. It's not an easy read. It's very hard to read. It goes through the massive amounts of racism that this man encountered from his entire life, obviously, but from junior hockey, youth hockey, all the way to the NHL, and how, because basically of his heritage and the color of his skin, his career was really stunted. He goes into extreme detail and names names. Not that I'm trying to make this a gotcha situation, but he did not hold back in calling people out that needed to be called out. This was a man who, 10 years after an incident, brought it to the attention of the NHL and was completely ridiculed by fans and other people in the game, saying, "Why did you wait so long? Why didn't you just do it?" And again, I don't want to get into the reasons why. He did the right thing coming forward, and he did ask for a due process on this. And the NHL and him have had a very good conversation going on since then. But this is a very raw article. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because our audience, the We Live Hockey audience, the Elimination Cafe audience, was built because we wanted to make a community that was not accepting of that side of the game, meaning the racism, meaning the all of it. Okay, we wanted a group of people that were accepting of everybody and accepting of the game on a more big level than missing teeth and mullets, right? People that really had a passion for this game and that the color of someone's skin or ethnicity or religion didn't really matter, okay? And I said in my post this morning, I said again, this group personifies the fan that Akim Aliu deserved and many other players. It's not just him, okay? Really too many to name. Okay, anybody that is not a white North American, essentially. Okay, so this audience has perceived that, or is the embodiment of the fan they deserve that they didn't get. And again, I'm not trying to make this political in any way. All right, it's just the right thing to do. It's the right thing to say. No player should have to deal with racism or anti-Semitism or all of it, okay? And I wanted to make a statement that we do not stand for that here. It's a problem within our game. It's something that, with that said, people in the game are really working hard to change and really working hard to make progress, and we have a long way to go. And this group is going to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. That's just my statement about it, right? And the reason why, and you know this, I don't usually make kind of ultimatums on this channel. I usually don't give opinions that are too strong because I want everybody to think for themselves. But I will say, if you judge a player based on skin color, ethnicity, race, religion, their country of origin, any of it, you are not welcome here. It's not for you. I'm not going to lie to you. It's just not for you, okay? We're not looking for that, all right? This group was created to prove that there are a lot of fans out there that do not stand for that, and that's not even don't stand for it. It's just not even part of their psyche when it comes to the game or sports or life, okay? And we've been obviously pleasantly pleased with the massive fan base that we've created over the last few years and continues to grow. And I'm proud of every single one of you that, this we got a tremendous response when we shared this article today. And the comments were exactly what we expected. Just complete empowerment towards we will not let this continue. And it's a big deal that we shared this, and it was a big deal that we can have a conversation about this without being upset. So I want to congratulate you on that. Not congratulate, that's not the right word. I wanted to commend the group for willing to have the conversation. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Akim Aliu for even having the guts to write that article. And that to say also that I will never be in a position ever to fully understand, to comprehend. I don't say things like I get it. We don't get it. I mean, what these people have to go through. All right, what lots of people have to go through in different ways. It's your own journey. We can only be made aware of it, and we can only do the things to create progress. The best thing about North America is progress is possible. That's the thing that I've always loved about my country, is that progress is always possible, all right? That's not true in a lot of places on Earth. It has nothing to do with what side of the political spectrum you're on. Progress is always possible, but it's slow, it's typically unfair, and you have to fight for what you want, and Akim Aliu is doing that. And I support his fight to get the message out. That's really all he's doing, to try and make a better path for the next hockey player so they don't have to deal with what he did with. Okay? So that's all I wanted to say. Feel free to comment on that if you have anything to say, just so people can see it. I just wanted to get that. I thought it would have been a disservice if I waited till the end to say that, and I thought it would have been a bigger disservice if I just ignored it, all right? Because we're going to talk about hockey players here tonight. And that's going to take us, check this out. Ready? Boom! I changed it over. Tonight's topic is the best captains in NHL history. As always, I have my notes on my screen. I have a top 10 list for you, some honorable mentions. You're not going to agree with every name on this list, and I would love to know who you think the best captains in NHL history are and why. Don't just throw a name up in the chat. It's very important to me that we do this. Here we go. Okay, so when we look at what makes a great captain, That's a big part of this thing, right? Because there's a lot of things you can look at, cups and how long they had to see and how good they were in the NHL. I don't think these are necessarily the best identifiers individually. I think when you merge them all together, they do. But listen, here's the deal. Captaincy comes down to leadership. So any best captain's going to have to display some amazing leadership, okay? So if you're on the list, you're not just a great player, you're a great leader, okay? And the team believed in you. Tenure is an important part of this, okay? If you were captain for a long time, that says something about you. And I do think championships plays into this, okay? There are some names on here that didn't win the cup, but there's very few. In fact, a majority of this list is cup winners, right? I think that is a prerequisite for being named the greatest captain of all time in the NHL. Doesn't mean that we're not great captains throughout history that didn't win, but like we've all had a captain on our team that was a captain for 2 years and we loved him and then he moved on, right? That doesn't make him a part of this list, all right? So we're gonna go through it. I'd love to see what you say about that. And then let's start with some honorable mentions. These honorable mentions might make some people upset. All right, so my first honorable mention is Scott Stevens, okay? 3 Stanley Cups, never had a minus season in terms of plus-minus in his career, and 9 All-Star appearances. Also, single-handedly destroyed my youth by knocking out Eric Lindros in 2000, thus making me understand that to be a Philadelphia fan is pain. I just wanted my daughter to cry there for a minute, so you could hear that in the background. Scott Stevens, 3 cups, never had a minus season. Also, and I, again, if we have New Jersey fans, you're not going to like this. He did it in New Jersey, which is not an easy market to win a cup, okay? New Jersey's identity has always been the Napoleonic complex. They are the little sister brother to New York City. Across the river, you can see the city from New Jersey in Newark or from the Meadowlands. You're just in the shadow of New York. So to win in those circumstances is actually pretty special. Did benefit from having the greatest goaltender of all time in Martin Brodeur. That is part of why I didn't put him in the top 10, because I think that leadership was dual. That was a team that had no superstars. They had a lot of role players. And again, if you have the best goalie of all time, that's going to boost your stats. So does not take anything away from Scott Stevens being on the list, but he's not in my top 10. Okay, so here we go. Next one. This is another honorable mention. Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky. And yes, I'm putting these two together. Greatest players of all time list, easily. Greatest captains. Gretzky doesn't really make that list for me. He played for really good hockey teams when he won. It takes nothing away from him. I've always looked up to Wayne Gretzky. I just think that he was the captain of a great dynasty and that his leadership was there, but it was more of a by example type leadership. Again, I'm not in the locker room, but everyone on that team seemed to be a leader, right? When I'm thinking of with this list, this is somebody that grabs their team and pulls them through, right? And Gretzky did that in points, but Messier's on that team, Coffey's on that team, Kevin Lowe's on that team. I mean, and like 15 more players I can name. Grant Fuhr's on that team. I mean, I can keep going, right? And Lemieux, amazing. His career was kind of cut in the middle due to leukemia. So it's tough because of the tenure aspect of that. Another great leader. I don't think he was overly great in a lot of other aspects, though. Like, again, great leader. He had Yager with him. I just didn't put him on my top 10. Last name that didn't make the top 10 is Zdeno Chara. Is a cup winner, is loved in Boston. He's also a 2-time cup loser. So it just didn't make the top 10. Again, honorable mentions, not dishonorable mentions. It's not a bad thing that I'm naming them. Again, you feel free to comment in the comments. Again, if you're listening to this in the podcast, we're broadcasting live on Facebook to We Live Hockey, Elimination Cafe, Hockey Wraparound, and Hockey Rewards. We're talking about the best NHL captains of all time in the NHL, and this is where we start the top 10 list. This is where some of you may agree, some of you may disagree. We'll find out tonight. So number 10 is not a cup winner. Number 10 is not a cup winner. Played for the Phoenix Coyotes for most of his career. Prior to that, he did play for the Jets. He had no team owner for 3 years, which is really unfathomable to me. If you think about it, it's when the NHL bought his team, and he was the face of his franchise for a long time. And that man's name is Shane Doan of the current Arizona Coyotes. So Shane Doan endured more probably problems in terms of business than any other captain on this list. He was a captain for that team for a very long time, and he played for a very long time. And just with the circumstances to stay there and to be the leader, he could have requested trades. He could have asked to be moved out of there. He stood the course, and I respect that as a leader. And that was something strong that the Coyotes needed during massive periods of uncertainty. And I think he provided the leadership that was necessary to keep that franchise moving. And they are in a position where it looks like they're going to start thriving here for years to come. All right, so I don't think any of that's possible without Shane Doan. And again, when you're talking about an NHL franchise, this is a man who's kept a franchise alive, and that's why he's on the list of the top 10 captains. He's number 10. Number 9 did not win a Stanley Cup with the team he captained, which is kind of unique for this list because he was a captain for 15 years in a row. Never won a cup, but he made the playoffs every single year of those 15 years. Can you guess who it was? All right. Again, he did win a cup. I'll start giving you clues. He won a cup in 2001 with the Colorado Avalanche. That should give it away. He spent 15 seasons as the captain of the Boston Bruins, and that is none other than Raymond Bourque. Raymond Bourque, Ray Bourque, all right? One of the longest tenured captains in Boston Bruins history. Amazing human being, amazing captain. You look in the 80s and 90s in Massachusetts, he's the face of everything outside, the years before with Esposito and everybody. So Ray Bourque is number 9 on my list. Again, 15 seasons in a row. Never missed the playoffs. Again, never was able to bring the title to Boston, but he did win a Stanley Cup, obviously, as an assistant captain 2 years later when he left in Colorado. One of the most emotional and unbelievable moments in NHL history when Joe Sakic took the cup and just handed it right to him. He didn't even lift it. An amazing moment. Number 8 on the list, Captain Sirius. 3 cups in whatever it is. 3 cups in 6 years, I think he did. I think it's 3 cups in 9 years now. Jonathan Toews, one of the youngest NHL captains in history. In fact, when he was named captain of the Blackhawks, I believe he was the youngest captain in history, or very close to it. No, I'm sorry, he wasn't. He was second youngest, okay, at the time. So Jonathan Toews has won 3 Stanley Cups. Reason he's not higher up on this list is just because he's really fallen off in terms of a player since the Cup runs. And so has Chicago. I think one of the prerequisites for this is sustained success, and Chicago is not in a position where they're showing sustained success. But doing what he did in the time period he did during a lockout with the Chicago Blackhawks, a team that was in literal hell, hockey hell, when he was drafted, a team that really was struggling, returned the franchise to greatness, needed to happen. Original 6, lots of pressure. Jonathan Toews, I remember one series, talk about leadership in groups. He was losing his mind. I can't remember what year. I want to say it was the Middle Cup when they won during the lockout in 2013. But he was going nuts, and I remember he got a penalty, and they were losing. And one of his players came over and said, "Look, you need to be the captain, right, man? You got to figure this out." And he did, and they ended up winning the cup. And a lot of people said that if he hadn't come around, they wouldn't have won. So that says a lot when people on your own team are saying that this guy was a leader and he brought us there. And I mean, again, he's in his 20s. He was in his 20s when he did this, all 3 cups in his 20s. That's young. These guys get younger every year. All right, keep going here. Number 7, oversaw the Quebec Nordiques move. They moved, and then he won 2 Stanley Cups after for the Colorado Avalanche, one of the greatest captains in NHL history. Number 7 is Joe Sakic, right? Talk about sustained success. You have a horrible situation when the Nordiques left Quebec, going to a brand new team, the Colorado Avalanche. You do happen to get the other greatest goalie of all time in Patrick Roy, but Joe Sakic's leadership is well documented as one of the greatest leaders in NHL history. Brought that new franchise a cup in his first year in 1996, and then another cup in 2001. Just unbelievable leadership there. And again, the moment of him picking up the cup and just handing it to Ray Bourque, it's a massive moment of camaraderie and also selflessness. If you really think about the Stanley Cup being lifted, it's very rare that a captain just passes it to the next person and not lift it. That was a special moment for hockey, not just the Blanche in Boston. Okay, and the thing is that, that is a captain's right to lift that cup. That is a big deal. Not many people have been able to do it in history. in history. You're talking 100 people have done it. That's it. Of all the, I mean, no, it's less than that when you think about it. Less than 100 people have lifted the cup like that. First person to lift the cup. He gave that honor to Ray Bourque, who absolutely deserved it. But that says a lot about the man. Okay. Number 6. This person has 3 Stanley Cups. 3 Stanley Cups. When he won the cup the first time, he was the youngest captain in NHL history to win the Stanley Cup. He's under immense pressure all the time. He's one of the greatest players of all time. He terrorizes my team, the Philadelphia Flyers, on a seasonal basis. He has scored the game-winning goal in a gold medal game against my team, the United States of America, to destroy us and rip our heart out through our eyes. His name is Sidney Crosby, and he is one of the greatest players in the history of hockey. He's also one of the captains. He's number 6 on my list, Sidney Crosby. When you come into the league with that many people looking at you, everyone says, Sid the Kid, you're the next Gretzky. You win 3 cups on 4 attempts. You go back-to-back years with the Detroit Red Wings and split cups, which is unbelievably hard. You win back-to-back cups, back-to-back, 2000, what? What years was that? 2017, no, 2016, 17? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's done it all, right? Gold medalist, too. I think he's captain of Team Canada most of the time. He's number 6 on my list. The only reason he's not higher is because his career's not over yet. That could change a lot in the next few years. All right, but here's the thing. I've always said this. Everybody, I'm getting a lot of comments right here about either yay Crosby or boo Crosby. Here's the deal. All right, don't waste too much time heckling the guy because you will miss greatness. I am a Flyers fan telling you, because I'm a hockey fan first, I'm a hockey person, you will miss greatness if you spend too much time hating that person. He's at the point of his career now. We got to put some of that stuff aside. It was fun in the beginning. Gretzky got ripped a lot in the beginning of his career too. You got to start putting some of that aside now and start watching the guy play, because he's not going to be around forever. All right, players like this are typically generational. We've been blessed that we've had a few of those types of players. Him, McDavid, there's a few. All right, I enjoy watching Crosby play. I admire the way he trains. A little bit boring when you see him off the ice. I have a feeling when he's in the locker room, he's one of the best leaders in NHL history. He's heard the bell, and he answered the bell under enormous, enormous pressure. I can't imagine. I mean, he's a Michael Jordan. I can't imagine being him and being able to perform and do what he's got to do. I can understand why he gets annoyed every once in a while. And I hope the Flyers beat him every time they play him, but he has my respect. Number 6 all time, Sidney Crosby. All right? Now, Andrew Williams says, I think McDavid's a bust. Too early to tell. Too early to tell. I'll read some of your comments because we're about halfway through. Let's get through some of this, okay? So here we go. I got a big shout out here from Andrew Williams for Shane Doan, best captain ever. Yeah, also one of the most underrated captains ever. You know, another name he didn't make my list, but Jerome McGinley should be on this list too in terms of an honorable mention. Proud captain of Calgary, really led that franchise around to a cup final, albeit that they lost. But yeah, Andrew Williams says he has 2 Shane Doan jerseys, and he always stopped to give autographs to all the fans, especially the kids. Yeah, I've never heard ever anything bad about Shane Doan. Not one thing. I think that says a lot. Then I got, again, 10 things about Sidney Crosby. Jessica Kirshner says that the 2 cups, thank you, a Penguins fan would know this, 2016 and 2017, back-to-back. First cup against the Nashville Predators, and then the second cup against the San Jose Sharks, or did I reverse that? 2 really good teams. I think was it the Sharks? Sharks, Predators, or Predators, Sharks? I can't remember. Jessica, let me know. I'm pretty sure it was Predators, Sharks, but I might be wrong. And then Caitlin Elizabeth says, as I'm wearing my Crosby sucks shirt. But yeah, he doesn't suck, and I've realized that since I bought this shirt. Yeah, Caitlin, here's riddle me this, all right? This is one for all of you. I've never bought any apparel that insulted another team because typically it says the other team's name or it has their logo on it. I'll never do it. It's just I buy Flyers stuff, NHL stuff, and that's about it. The only other thing you'll see me wear is something if it has like all the teams on it. Like I have an NHL 100 shirts that has every franchise on it. I used to wear an original 6 T-shirt to school all the time. But those are more like hockey things. But I can't wear anything. It's very hard for me to wear anything that I have to do. I have problems with my logo for my business is yellow and black. Okay, I mean, that was a marketing decision because here's the funny thing. You guys want to know the funny thing about orange and black? I do wear a lot of orange and black. I wear my Flyers stuff proudly all the time. I wear a lot of green for the Eagles, red, white, and blue for the Phillies and the 76ers. But orange and black unless it's October, does not work in marketing. And we found that out because every business I know that uses orange and black in their branding, people won't buy it because most of the times it's affiliation with Philadelphia. So that's why we didn't do it. Now, don't get lost on yellow and black and white as being Pittsburgh Pirates. There's a lot of teams that wear yellow and black and white. It just sticks out. But that's something funny. So Sam and Jessica are both saying San Jose in 2016, Nashville in 2017. Okay, so I was wrong. It was the Sharks first, then the Predators. So it was good. And then Andrew Williams says, we all know the refs helped the Pens win the Cup against the Preds. Andrew, that's not true. You got to stop with that. It's a hard job. Here we go. Let's go. Let's keep moving here. Number 5. So number 6 was a Penguin, Sidney Crosby. Number 5, this man had diabetes his entire life. They said you'd never play in the NHL. Ever. He played for the Peterborough Petes in junior hockey. He was a leader all along the way. He has won 2 back-to-back Stanley Cups. He has no 2 front teeth. He is part of the Broad Street Boys. His name is Bobby Clarke, captain of the Philadelphia Flyers, overtaking Sidney Crosby, which may or may not have been a little bit of bias in my head. But seriously, I mean, Crosby might jump him later on. But Bobby Clarke's a great captain. Everyone says it. Everyone in the league says it. Plenty of players have said that you don't win back-to-back Stanley Cups if you're not good. If you're outside Philadelphia, you think the Broad Street Bullies are trash. If you're in Philadelphia, you think they're gods. The truth is this. They're hockey players. They changed the face of the game, literally and figuratively changed the faces of the game. He led one of the most iconic teams, iconic identities in league history, and they won 2 cups in a row, not to mention being the greatest Flyer in terms of points all time, and overcoming diabetes, which is always the part of his story that's never given as much credit as it deserves. They told him he'd never play. So he overcame a lot, and then he led the franchise for years after he stopped playing, not really with the team too much anymore, which is probably not a bad thing, but long storied history. There is no Flyers without the name Bob Clarke. There's a Penguins without Sidney Crosby, right? There's no Avalanche without Joe Sakic, right? You know what I mean? So maybe there is because you have Patrick Waugh. You know, Ray Bourque, right? Actually, I'll do this. Sidney Crosby, there's a team without him. Joe Sakic, Patrick Waugh. Jonathan Taves, Kane. Ray Bourque, all the Bruins before him. Shane Doan, maybe. Again, he didn't win a cup. That's why he's not higher. You could put Roenick maybe with him for a little bit, but not really. Scott Stevens, Martin Brodeur. Mario Lemieux, you have Yager. Wayne Gretzky, you have the entire Oilers franchise. Right? Zdeno Chara, same thing, guys. Bob Clarke, there's no Flyers without Bob Clarke. That's why some of these names now, when I'm looking at the top 5 right now, there's no real team. 4 of these last 5 don't have a team without the name on the list. All right? And I can make an argument that the one that I didn't say does. Okay, so that's number 5. All right? Let's keep going here. Number 4, this man captained the last true dynasty in the NHL. His team has never recovered once he left. He won 4 cups in 8 years, and 4 of those cups happened in his first 4 years as the captain. Who am I talking about? All the way out in Long Island. Rangers fans would say Potvin sucks, but the Islander fans say Rangers suck. Dennis Potvin, number 4 on the list. Another clear name. There's no Islanders without this man. There's nothing. He won 4 cups with the New York Islanders. A name that is not typically known too far out of the island because it's a smaller market team, and it really is a shame that dynasty has really been forgotten for most of the NHL, mainly because Gretzky showed up to destroy it. All right, but Dennis Potvin is number 4 on this list. 4 cups in 4 years, really 8 years as his captain. That's incredible. Again, the last true dynasty in the NHL, last team to win 4 in a row. Everybody forgets the Oilers didn't win 4 in a row. They won 4 out of 5. So Dennis Potvin. Let's go back to some of your comments before we jump into the top 3. It goes, let's go here. That's Andrew Williams. Well, to be honest, Austin Matthews was a student at my church when he was in junior high, so I have his jersey. Okay, well, if you know someone, that is totally different, to be fair, okay? Nobody from my hometown ever made the NHL, although some people tried. Yeah, no, if you know the player, that totally changes the rules on buying a jersey or something like that, because you have a connection with them. But I just can't bring myself. Like, I don't know if I could buy a Penguins jersey even if I knew the person. I'm thinking about it. Again, I never have. Maybe it's a big maybe. I probably never wear it. I'd get it signed or something like that. Caitlin says, I don't know, orange and black. I bought it the day before our first meeting back in August and then wore it to me. She's talking about her Crosby Suck shirts, which then you reminded me was his birthday. I love this shirt for that memory. Well, you have some sentimental value, and I appreciate that because it's somewhat of a compliment to me. Parker Beard says, wearing a team suck shirt usually starts fights. We're not afraid of fights on this side of the continent. I'm not going to lie to you. Andrew Williams says, I am a ref and an umpire, Lee. I know how hard it is. Well, good, Andrew. You're talking about when they said the refs threw it away. NHL officiating is one of the hardest officiatings in all of sports. This game is moving faster than any other sport. So, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, NHL refs make mistakes. We interviewed. You should listen to our Kerry Fraser interview on this podcast, the We Live Hockey podcast, because we asked him about that. We asked him what he thought about the call in against Las Vegas when they were playing the Sharks, and the Sharks came back to win that series. He had a lot of thoughts on today's officials and what they could be doing better. So make sure you check that podcast out. It's the Kerry Fraser episode of the We Live Hockey podcast. Really fun guy to be around, real gentleman. We were lucky to meet him and be with him a few times, but please check that out, the Kerry Fraser podcast. If you're an official, you really should listen to that. Let's keep going here. So Andrew Williams, Max Domi wore 16 in Arizona because of Clark. That's true. All right. You talk about Wendell Clark, who was a good friend of his dad's. Mark Pollard says greatest Flyers captain is Peter Forsberg. Well, he captained them in the worst season in history, Mark. I hate to tell you that, but that's going to put him on the side. Parker Beard wants you to know that dun 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 Potvin sucks. Ray Carcillo is listening in Los Angeles. I guarantee you he just did that with me. Okay, all the Rangers fans did. That's how iconic Dennis Potvin is. There's a chant that happens in a rival arena to this day that he sucks. That's staying power. That's incredible power. Okay, remember the Islanders fans just say Rangers suck. The Rangers fans say Potvin sucks. That's staying power. That's amazing to me. That says something about the legacy of Dennis Potvin. Okay. For those of you wanting to, Caitlin Elizabeth, Caitlin Reese just posted the Kerry Fraser podcast. She's awesome. You're great with what you do, Caitlin. I really appreciate you. She posted that. You guys can listen to that later. And Andrew, you said it sounds like a fun podcast. It was a fun podcast. He was a fun guy to listen to. Okay, let's keep going here. We got more comments on other captains. I'm going to keep going. All right, here we go. We're into the top three. 30 minutes into the episode, top three. Okay, this was tough. I had a hard time with this. So some of this might be my own personal opinions. Some of this might be historically based. I really want to know what you think of the top three. Number 3 won 5 Stanley Cups in 10 years. Won half the time he was captain. One of the most historical franchise in the history of the NHL. Housed names like Richard and Richard, because there was 2 of them, and the Flower. Guy Lafleur, not the other Flower. Jean Beliveau is number 3. Really, and these top 3 could be number 1, but there's a reason that number 1 is number 1. But Jean Beliveau, one of the most awarded captains of all time. Again, Montreal had a lot of captains during their Cup years. He was a true captain of that team. 5 cups in a row. I mean, I'm sorry, 5 cups in 10 years is incredible. All right. Also dethroned the dynasty, dethroned the Flyers. There's a lot of reasons why Jean Beliveau has to be on this list. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest players in NHL history, too. One of the greatest leaders. I know my camera keeps moving. Jean Beliveau, okay? Number 2. Who do you think number 2 is? For those of you listening at home, who do you think number 2 is? There's one person on this list that's going to be obvious. I want to see if you know who I picked for number 2. I will give you 10 seconds, and I will fill that airtime with me talking. Okay? We got people also saying that they did the Rangers chant with me. Okay? I worked in Madison Square Garden for several years. It was one of my favorite jobs. There's nothing like Madison Square Garden. It is the greatest arena in the NHL for hockey. There's some nicer arenas, but that's the greatest. Some would say it's the world's most famous arena, including themselves. So there it is. Nobody wants to guess who number 2 is. Okay? That's fine. That's fine. I'm going to do it. Number 2 spent 19 seasons. 19 seasons. We got to guess. Messier and Yager. No. Here we go. Number 2 spent 19 seasons as captain. 19 seasons as captain. That's 1,301 hockey games. He won 3 Stanley Cups with this team. He was 21 years old when he was named captain, which was one of the youngest of all time at the time he was named. His name is Steve Yzerman. Steve Yzerman. He is number 2 on my list. First off, 19 years is a record. Okay, nobody has played more games or been a captain longer than Steve Yzerman. And he's won. Those things alone put him in the top 2. Here's some other things that put him in the top 2. The man was one of the greatest goal scorers in the league at one point and completely changed his game to a two-way forward at the request of Scotty Bowman, one of the greatest coaches of all time. Is Scotty Bowman. Is known as a tremendous human being, known as a complete leader, got it done on the ice when he needed to, got it done in the locker room when he needed to, for 19 seasons. Keeping in mind that it would have been 20 probably if there weren't lockouts. All right, no, he was not with the team in 2005. So it's 19 seasons. Again, 1,301 games, 3 Stanley Cups. Brought Detroit, who desperately needed a Stanley Cup back to the team in 1997 and 1998. Okay, in 2002. Great captain, great leader. Deserves to be number 2. Okay, people are saying they agree. Andrew Williams guessed Gretzky was 1 or 2. Gretzky's one of my honorable mentions. He didn't actually make the top 10 list on here. Again, he's got the top 10 list for everything else. I don't know. I don't think his leadership is one of them. All right, because I think everybody on his team's lead. This brings us to number 1. Number 1's pretty obvious. And here's the thing: there's people that try and deny this person number 1, and there's really no good argument to deny him. Because the stats alone, the iconic status alone, there's nothing, and I'm going to do it. And if you want to fight this one, feel free. But there's no way my number 1 greatest captain in NHL history is not the number 1 greatest captain in NHL history. I'll still tease it, just in case you don't know who it is. He is the only player in NHL history to win a cup as captain with 2 different teams. He has captained 3 NHL teams, believe it or not. He's won cups with 2 different teams. Think about that for a minute. He has an award that's given out at the NHL Awards named after him. It's called the Leadership Award. He is known as the Messiah in New York. He called a Game 7 win. Game 6 win, excuse me. Did that wrong. Scored a hat trick in that game. Lived in the shadow of the greatest player of all time. Then became captain of that team to take them to the 1990 Stanley Cup Final and win. Then he won the 1994 Stanley Cup. He's a 6-time champion. His name is Mark Messier, and he is the greatest captain in NHL history. There is no denying him that. He's known as a leader. He's known for his captaincy. He's known for that. The Mark Messier Leadership Award. He has done amazing things. He's a Conn Smythe winner as not a captain in Edmonton. I have met this man. I have interviewed this man. There's another podcast you should listen to. One of the most intense human beings I've ever seen and kind at the same time. I've never seen anything like it. There's another level there that guy goes to. He just operates on a different level when it comes to leadership. I admire him. I've read his book. Mark Messier, captain of the Edmonton Oilers, 1990 Stanley Cup, captain of the New York Rangers, 1994 Stanley Cup, so beloved in 2 cities. Also captain of the Vancouver Canucks, which we won't talk about. Another brilliant contract negotiation by New York ownership. Yeah, I mean, there's no denying this guy. I mean, again, he's got an NHL award named after him. That's pretty much a nail in the coffin if you had a problem with him. I gotta say this, to take 2 different teams to a cup final and win is incredible. All right, and you got to remember, you got to look at both of those teams to understand the stakes here. One of them was a Gretzky-less Oilers, a team that was like, can anyone do this without Gretzky? In 1990, they did. Right? I mean, the only sports comparison I can think of right now, and Ray, if you're still listening, help me out with this, but the only sports comparison I can think of right now is really like when Shaq left the Lakers, and then Kobe took him to a championship. And I remember that. Can Kobe win without Shaq? Can the Oilers win without Gretzky? Yeah, and Messier led him there. Then, if that wasn't enough, after 5 Stanley Cups, he goes to New York, a team that had not won since 1954, right? And then he takes them to the Cup final, and they win. And it's just after they lost with the President's Trophy a couple of seasons ago. They had the President's Trophy and lost. And he goes there and he wills them, New York City, to a Stanley Cup final. Mike Richter's a great goalie, not the greatest goalie of all time. Like, Mark Messier, when he finished his career, was number 2 all time. He's number 3 now, behind Jaromir Jagr, another Ranger captain, ironically. I mean, there's just no denying this man. He is the greatest captain in NHL history. All right? There's no denying it. I'm sorry. Yeah, I said 1954. It's 1940. I apologize, Parker. You're absolutely correct. 1940 was the previous cup for the New York Rangers before 1994. I totally mixed 2 numbers in my head there. I apologize. I know better than that. I'm ashamed. I am sorry. That's not good enough for you. I need to be on my stats because that's what makes me a true fan. Unless you watched our episode about fans a week or 2 ago where that doesn't have anything to do with it. I do appreciate you correcting me there, Parker. By the way, if anybody ever hears this and I make a mistake, please let me know. I do want to be accurate as possible here. Okay, let's get your comments in here. Let me know what you think about these people. Let's go through the top 10 list one more time. Number 10, Shane Doan, Phoenix Coyotes. Number 9, Ray Bourque, Boston Bruins, 15 seasons as captain. Number 8, Jonathan Toews, Captain Sirius, 3 cups in 6 years with the Chicago Blackhawks. Number 7, Joe Sakic, captain of the Quebec Nordiques and the Colorado Avalanche, although it's one team, won 2 cups. Number 6 is Sidney Crosby, 3 cups, youngest captain ever to be named and win best player in the game today. Immense pressure on him. Number 5, Bob Clarke, Philadelphia Flyers, 2-time Stanley Cup champion and all-time leading goal scorer for the Philadelphia Flyers and point scorer. Number 4, Dennis Potvin, 4 out of 4 cups to start his captaincy, 4 in 8 years. Captain of the New York Islanders during the last true dynasty in NHL history. Number 3, Jean Beliveau, Montreal Canadiens, 5 cups in 10 years. Number 2, Stevie Y, Stevie Magic, Stevie Wonder, Steve Yzerman, 19 seasons as captain since he was 21 years old through retirement, 1,301 games played, wearing the C, and 3 Stanley Cups to show for it. Number 1 all-time, Mark Messier, captain of the New York Rangers, captain of the Edmonton Oilers, 6 Stanley Cups, has an award named after him, known as a leader. If you are interested in leadership, study that man. That's all I'll tell you. Okay, let's keep going. Somebody met him at the AHL All-Star Game in Hartford during the lockout. I don't know who you're talking about, Andrew, but that's good to know. Parker Beard, honorable mention. Okay, now see, this is where we get into it, because I'll have comments on this. Parker Beard says, honorable mention, Rod Brind'Amour. He was a great captain for the Hurricanes and is doing a great job as the coach. I met him a couple times, and he's a very nice guy. Super nice guy. Was devastated when he left Philadelphia. I can't put him as a top 10 captain all time for many reasons, right? He's a great captain, right? He did bring you a cup. I will never forget I will never forget the moment he was handed the cup, and I was watching him marching, and then he puts it up, and that must have been the most aggressive, angry scream I've ever seen. If you haven't seen that, go look it up on YouTube when Rod Brind'Amour lifted the cup. That was a pretty amazing moment, and it was in 2006 post-lockout. Cam Ward was the goaltender of that team. Eric Stahl was the young kid on that team. Amazing moment, amazing player. And right after the NHL had been off for a year, so that was a pretty good thing. Andrew Williams did say, I met Mark Messier at the All-Star Game. I'll tell you guys that I think I told this Mark Messier story before, but when I saw him at the NHL headquarters, and I saw him up in Long Island, I've seen him many times. Always a class act, always willing to talk, give you 5 minutes. Everybody wants his time, and he's very gracious with it. He learned that. So, yeah, listen, Mark Messier is my number 1 all-time captain. Sam Guy says, Ron Francis, I know we have Carolina Hurricane fans on here. He didn't win a cup, guys. Not with that team. He didn't win a cup with the Carolina Hurricanes. He went to a cup, 2003. He lost to Detroit. But you really have to win to be on this list. And again, the Ray Bourque and Shane Doan, the guys on the list that didn't win, I mean, they had reasons for it, right? Again, there's no Phoenix without Shane Doan. Ray Bourque, 15 seasons for that franchise is unbelievable. Again, there are so many captains out there that could have been named as good or great captains. But again, we're talking about the top 10 captains all time. And that's my list, and I'm sticking to it. So with that said, I don't have much more to say. If there's any more comments to come in, I'll read them out loud if they make sense. But I want to thank you all once again for coming on Puckdrop Live. I really enjoy doing this. You are the best audience in the universe. I can't thank you enough. I got to say it again, I'm proud to be part of this audience. I'm proud to be part of this community. We get a lot of listens on this afterwards. So if you're listening to this on the podcast or on replay, I want you to know I appreciate you just as much. I know a lot of people are doing stuff right now. Today is day 67, I believe, of quarantine at my house. And again, kind of rolling with the punches here now, kind of used to it. But as I always say on these episodes, you have given me the ability to escape and to do this and get my mind off things once a week, and I really, really appreciate that. I also get the ability to do this with my friend Ray Carcillo on our other podcast, Geeks Who Like Sports. So if you like sports and geekdom, you should definitely listen to that podcast as well. And yeah, that's a total hard sell on it. Go check it out. But also I know that this is, and because I've heard from a lot of you, I know you guys tell me this is an escape for you too, and it's really nice to talk something other than coronavirus and hockey. And I am so honored to be able to be in a position to even be that for you. It means more to me than you know, and I'm glad I can do that for you. Last thing I got to say is, hey, check out Hockey Rewards, hockeyrewards.com. We are selling this jersey for charity that I want you to check out. It's really cool. It's got all the names of all the first-line responders. It's got silhouettes of first-line responders, and on the back, it's got a family on the backbone. We are selling them for adult jerseys are $55. We're giving 100% of the profits. 100. No money is coming to us, to the Penalty Box Foundation charities, which are really COVID-19 relief. They've done a lot. I trust those people. I really trust Drew Lane, the person who runs that Penalty Box Foundation. Also, Hockey Deals and Discounts. Good people, good cause. It's a good place for the money to go. Check that out on hockeyrewards.com. If you haven't seen that yet, I'm actually going to type it in here right now. I'm beating Caitlin to it. Maybe we'll see. Hockeyrewards.com. You can. She beat me to it. She put the Facebook page. I put the website. There you go. Check that out if you haven't already. And once again, thank you so much for listening to Puck Drop. We'll get another vote up there next week. If you have topics you want to discuss, put them on our page. Ask people. I really want to talk about what you want to talk about, because apparently nobody wants to talk about Gary Bettman being a good commissioner, which is something I could talk about for an hour. It would be very entertaining. And I usually get a few things about Seattle, which I have nothing to say about Seattle yet because we don't know what's going on. But anyway, this is dragging on. The next thing you need to do is go watch Ray Carcillo stream live on Twitch. That is twitch.tv/Ray Carcillo channel. If you were on this page last week, there's no way you missed his goal call of the Rangers versus Coyotes game, which he won with like 5 seconds left. He is going to Twitch right after I'm done here, very soon after, to go live to play the playoffs as the NHL, as the New York Rangers. So I challenged him to sim NHL 20 up to the point where the Rangers were, which is a few points out of the playoffs, and see if he could get in the playoffs and then win the cup. So he got in the playoffs dramatically, and now he's going to start playing the playoffs very soon. So go check that out, twitch.tv/Ray Carcillo. Ray Carcillo just put his link in here. Please go watch him play. It is so damn entertaining that it's worth your time if you have time. Okay? So everybody get in there. See him in about 10 minutes. You guys have a wonderful night once again. I really appreciate all you. Thanks for being here on Puck Drop Live with Lee Elias from We Live Hockey to Elimination Cafe to Hockey Wraparound to Hockey Rewards or wherever else you're seeing us. This is Lee Elias signing off. We'll see you next week.